Hello everyone, my name is Joe Tran. Today, I'll present our research team's work on the risks, benefits, and consequences of pre-publication moderation, evidence from 17 Wikipedia language editions. Let us start with a thought bubble. What if ACM allows everyone to publish their work that will immediately be publicly accessible before the peer review process takes down any papers that gets rejected? Would the result be the same? One might be inclined to say no for various reasons. For one, reviewers might not be able to review every paper, and those might be considered accepted even though no one actually reviewed them. Second, this might encourage vandalizer posting damaging content on the site, knowing people will be able to see it, no matter how briefly. There's also no way to tell if a paper has been peer-reviewed, which in turn will harm the reputation of the platform. All in all, probably not a good moderation process for a respectable scientific community like ACM. Now, what if social media sites like Reddit or Facebook require all submitted content to be reviewed before they can be published? How would that work? You can make your own guesses. We want to highlight two things from these thought bubbles. One, there are two main ways as an online community can choose to moderate their content, whether post-publication, where content submitted by users are reviewed after they're already published, or pre-publication, where content submitted by users must be reviewed in order to be accepted and published. You can see that ACM uses pre-publication moderation technique to review all user content to ensure that the most qualified works get accepted, while Reddit or Facebook mostly use post-publication to encourage as many people to engage as possible. Two, changing moderation method might affect the community in various ways, whether or not they're intentional. Of course, right now we are just theorizing these what-if scenarios, but Wikipedia has presented us with a great opportunity to observe when some of their subcommittees, which traditionally use post-publication moderation, decide to implement pre-publication moderation to combat vandalism more effectively. We were able to examine flag reps, a pre-publication moderation system designed to subject contributions from untrusted editors to mandatory review. It was also deployed to 24 other wiki language editions of various sizes. As researchers, we are interested in looking at the risks, benefits, and consequences of implementing a pre-publication moderation system. We shall further elaborate by presenting our four hypotheses that examine different measures of quality and activity within the 17 wikis that might have been impacted by the deployment of the moderation system. First and foremost, we look at the key difference between post-publication and pre-publication operates, which we talked about earlier. As pre-publication ensures that content must be reviewed before published, we expect a significant drop in the number of published damaging submissions after flag reps is deployed on the wiki. Second, we also hypothesize the mandatory review process will make sure that users are more conscious about their work and likely make higher quality contributions to earn their credit and the trust of the community. Third, we anticipated that the system would discourage both bad faith and good faith users from participating due to the higher barrier to entry. As a result, we expect to see a significant decline in the number of contributions after the deployment of the system. Similarly, we predict a declining newcomers' return rate after the intervention. There are two important things to note here. One, we examined the measures of outcome at the wiki level for the first three hypotheses, meaning that we look at the aggregated numbers for each wiki. For the fourth hypothesis, we consider each individual's newcomer's activity to calculate the return rate of an average newcomer. Second, because of the way flag web is implemented, not all users are treated equally. Only a certain group of users without an account or with relatively new account must have their work reviewed by the moderation system. Therefore, we have categorized different user groups to highlight potential differences between user groups that are affected and those who are not affected by the new moderation system. Before we move on, let us show a sneak peek of the results that we collected. To our surprise, we are only able to confirm the effect of the first hypothesis, while unable to find convincing evidence that flag reps has a noticeable impact on the other three outcome measures. We will talk more about our methodology before going over the key findings in more details. We use two different analytical models to analyze data at the wiki level and the user level. For the wiki level hypothesis, we used interrupted time series analysis, a quasi-experimental research design that is very useful when investigators have neither the control over the implementation of the intervention nor the power to create the treatment and the control groups. For the user-level hypothesis, we use general linear mixed model to address the issue of non-independence in the data. In this case, it is the repeated measures of users within the same wiki. For more information, please refer to our paper. Let us summarize our key findings here. The main takeaway from our wiki-level analysis is that the pre-publication moderation manages to effectively reduce the number of damaging content before they were published on the platform, which is precisely what it's designed to do. We see the drastic decline in the treatment group. In this case, there's a groups of unregistered users and the registered users who just made their first contribution. Because the effect is so large, we also see it affect the community as a whole. For hypothesis 2 and 3, we see a similar pattern. We see an immediate decline in the contribution quality, meaning an uptick in the number of contributions being reverted right after the intervention, but the trend went back to the pre-intervention level pretty quickly. Similarly, we also see a temporary drop in the number of contributions made by the unregistered users. In fact, after using Bonferroni correction to reduce family-wise error rate, we can no longer reject the null hypothesis. This suggests that our model was not able to see the effect large enough to conclude that FragRaps has a negative impact on the health of the community, nor improve users' behavior by encouraging them to make higher quality content. We also failed to find evidence suggesting FragRaps has a noticeable impact on newcomers' return rate. Let's look at these two charts showing the predicted newcomers' return rate before and after FragRaps was enabled. We want you to spot the difference between the two charts. Pam's answer is correct. There is almost no difference between them. We found that the deployment of FragRaps only negatively affect newcomers' return rate by less than 2% on average, which is negligible, especially when comparing with other independent variables in our model, such as whether the newcomer contributed without an account and whether their first submission was ever accepted. This once again shows that the pre-publication moderation system did not have a negative impact on the growth of the community. Despite the lack of any obvious downside in adopting FragRaps as we have seen so far, Wikimedia Foundation ultimately decided to stop deploying FragRaps on other wiki languages starting 2017, even when some of these wikis repeatedly asked for the permission. We followed the discussions on this topic and found that the deployment of FragRaps have various problems, ranging from technical issues to enormous operational costs that smaller wikis simply do not have human resources to handle. The fact that there are no official cross-wiki reports on the effectiveness of the system also prevented Wikimedia Foundation from assessing its value. In conclusion, we find that the deployment of the pre-publication moderation system did not have a major negative impact on the health and the growth of the community, while ensuring that damaging content submitted by users are not visible to the public. If FragRaps were able to address its limitation by receiving more support for its development and maintenance, or if newer and more streamlined version of FragRaps were deployed, it can be a promising solution to monitor contributions made by a smaller group of not yet trusted editors as an alternative to the preemptive ban that some communities choose to enforce. We hope that our study will help online communities make more informed decisions to moderate their content effectively. Thank you so much for listening to our talk, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any question, or feel free to visit our research page at theanonymityproject.org. Thank you.